All right, we're right in the middle of fantasy draft season. Maybe a little early, but everything's kicking off this weekend. It's Pass the Rock.
Yeah, yo, could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. Yeah. Posting like Kobe Bryant, yeah. Flying to see the pie. Yeah. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jackies. He goes silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock, for real.
All right, Zach and Jack, I know y'all are seniors, but there's one picture of Zach in the promo, in the intro, that he looks like he's 12 with no facial hair. Jack looks exactly the same. But how old were you really in that picture, Zach?
Oh, my God. So the video, I see it every time we're on this show. That's from my freshman year in my dorm because I recognize the background, I recognize everything about that. That is me at 18 I was 18 then, and then now I'm 21. It's pretty funny. A couple years ago now.
You're 21, but you lived through a pandemic, so it feels like you're 36.
Exactly.
Good job. All right, everybody else. So myself and Jesse and Jack all lived through a fantasy draft this weekend. Zach has yet to do it, so I'm sure it's coming soon. But Jack, what's the craziest thing that happened in your draft? Let's just say that was a little too early to start drafting.
I mean, the one thing that happened to me, which I never do, is I am never a guy to draft a quarterback early. I just don't do it. I love waiting and getting the value guys late. But Patrick Mahomes fell in my lap in round 6 in a 10-man draft, and I couldn't help myself. I'm not a guy to draft a quarterback early, and I think it's the first time probably in 4 years that I've had a draft that I actually was the first guy to take a quarterback. But round 6 for Pat Mahomes, I was like, give it to me.
I was going to say, Jack, I hate to break it to you, but round 6 is not early. How the hell did the first quarterback make it that far?
Apparently, everyone in the room had the same feeling that I did, but at a certain point, it's like, you just got
to you're crazy. I think you might have picked the wrong one.
Yeah? I like the consistency with Mahomes. I mean, he might not have the rushing upside of Allen or Lamar, but Mahomes is going to get you 20 every week.
All right. What about you, Jesse? Weirdest thing you saw in a fantasy draft so far?
I mean, I felt like I was drafting with Jack because some guy in one of my leagues took Bijan Robinson first overall in the draft. So he must be a big Falcons guy. And yeah, I don't know what was going through his head at the time, but he made a big statement about it and said, "This is my guy. Sometimes you have to get your guy." And he took Bijan first overall. Full nice. PPR league, by the way.
Wow.
So I'm in a league that's 23 years old. It's a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, keeper league, and you don't get punished as far as draft picks. So, those are just your top 3 picks, essentially. And Jahmyr Gibbs was, like, by far and away the best player available at number 1 overall. And my buddy Brent, God rest his soul, always picks crazy, just out of the box stuff. Like he'll pick Santana Moss first overall about 10 years ago. Yesterday, he picked Rachaad White over Jahmyr Gibbs. And we funnily had this let's do a pool. Who's he going to pick? And we each picked somebody crazy, and Rachaad White was not one of them. So no one actually won the pool. So shout out. I hope Rachaad White doesn't run for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns this year, but one of my buddies thinks that that's possible. So
I mean, the funny thing is that last season Rachaad White finished as the RB4 and Gibbs was the RB10. So
I know.
What's hilarious about Rachaad White is that the guy can't run the football, but he catches so many passes that he's actually a fantasy asset. But as a pure running back, he's terrible. Like he's an awful running back, and it's pretty hilarious.
He's the new Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. He's Baker's, oh crap, you take the ball kind of guy, So he's got 120 catches. All right, well let's get to the outline. We have a little general NFL to start. Which NFL coach has the hottest seat in 2024? Jack, starting with you.
To me, it's Mike McCarthy. I think his his butt is burning as we enter the season. I think that he's had disappointment after disappointment throughout his tenure as the Cowboys coach. Last year, he did a decent job stepping in as the offensive play caller for the first time in his career. So you have to give him credit for that. But either way, this is a team that disappoints in the playoffs every single season. And I think it's about time. I think it's basically, as the saying goes, shit or get off the pot. I think it's about time for Mike McCarthy. And they got to make something happen this year, or else I think he's gone.
All right. I think I know your answer, but I'm going to go to Zach next.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brian Dable here as the coach with the hottest seat. Bit different. And you might be like, oh, well, maybe it's not the hottest. Maybe, it's not all his fault, the situation that the Giants are in. But the Giants haven't kept a coach for more than 2 seasons since Tom Coughlin. So, I mean, we're well past that with Dable. I think we're entering year 3 with him. So, I got to say, though, I feel like if they underperform, it's like, well, we're already paying Danny Jones so much money. We can't really throw him out the window. So, let's throw the coach out the window. So, I think it's really not going to be his fault, but I think Brian Dable has the hottest seat in the NFL.
I thought for sure you were going to say Sirianni. Over to you, Jesse.
This was honestly my answer to this question, I think, last year, and it's the same again. I think it's Sean McDermott. I think that he has been on the hot seat for a few years, and I know that this is kind of a rebuilding year for Buffalo. Like I say rebuilding, like they're not going to still win 10 games, but I think that they've gone over a lot of roster changes, a lot of staffing changes in the last few years anyway, and I think that this is kind of a make or break year for Buffalo to see if they can get back, at the top of the AFC. They'll probably make the playoffs. We'll see if they can get past the divisional round with what they have on offense right now. They did lose a lot of talent on both sides of the ball in the offseason. And I think it's time for Sean McDermott to prove that this is still his team. And if not, I could see very easily Buffalo going in another direction.
I really hope the answer is Dennis Allen because I'm ready for him to be gone. But I would say Matt Eberflus. I just think that they have put everything into this current build. And I could definitely see a situation if it goes south, even with a rookie quarterback, that they're just like, this is not the right match for everything we've put on the field, which is a good bit through trades, through the draft, through everything else. And I could see him gone. But surprisingly, the number one, as far as odds guy, is not somebody we listed. Anybody have an idea of who the number one odds guy is?
Robert Saleh?
It is. It's Robert Saleh.
Wow.
Which is interesting to me because it's not his fault that Aaron Rodgers, quit on his team 3 plays into last season.
I don't know. I don't hate that answer, though. If they're terrible this year, he will be gone.
Yeah.
Also,
I think for the same reason of Eberflus. Like we built
in
this
the chat saying Sean McDermott's the best motivator in the NFL. Shout out to Shanbaum, but he's going to need to do a lot of motivating this year to get Buffalo to the playoffs.
Oh, my God. Yeah. If he can't catch passes, then he might be gone. So, all right, similar question, different position. Which quarterback is most likely to be benched, let's say, by week 6 of this NFL season? Zach.
I feel like this is pretty hard to project in general, but I'm going to throw a shot in the dark. I'm going to say Gardner Minshew has a solid chance to be benched by week 6. It's not that the Raiders have an especially difficult schedule ahead of them. It's not any of that. I can just see a world where Minshew struggles early in the season. We get AOC plugged back into the offense. Maybe helps, maybe brings a little bit of a spark plug to them. Really hard to project who's going to get benched by week 6, though.
Jess.
Strictly based off his preseason debut, I think it's Daniel Jones. I think that there's a real shot we could see Drew Lock come in to get some reps and not to replace him because, look, Daniel Jones is making like $40 million a year. They're not just going to let that sit on the bench. But I do think if he plays poorly enough that we could see some Drew Lock reps just to get a fire under Daniel Jones again. So I think if he plays like he did the first 2 drives against the Texans in the preseason, we could see Drew Lock by the 3rd quarter. I mean, you never know.
All right, Jack.
If the Steelers' starting quarterback is Russell Wilson, my answer is Russell Wilson. If the Steelers' starting quarterback is Justin Fields, my answer is Justin Fields. I think they both have looked awful in preseason. I think the quarterback room for Pittsburgh is a complete disaster. And I think one way or the other, they've been wishy-washy on which one's going to start week 1. Even though it sounds like it's probably going to be Wilson. I still think either way, both these guys, they're going to be quick to pull the trigger. They have two of them for a reason. They're going to want to test both of them out. And I would be shocked if one of them is the starter for the entire season.
That's a good one. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. I just think they've already shut down Michael Penix for the preseason. They don't want him to get hurt. I really could see a scenario, not because he's playing poorly, but just because they're going to be way too excited to get Penix out there. I know it's crazy with the money they gave Kirko, but I could see a situation early on where the Falcons say, let's just see what we've got here. And they'll just have to eat that salary and move on. But I could see that totally happening in Atlanta because they've also assembled a lot around this team, especially on the defensive end the past week. And they don't want to waste that time.
It's just
Shanbaum.
It's just like, what were the Falcons thinking then, though? But like if that's actually the direction that they end up going, like, why? What's the point of giving Kirk Cousins? How much money did they end up giving him? 160 million? Like,
Yeah.
180.
What are we doing? 180? What are we doing?
It's crazy, but if you see in practice every day that Penix is the better quarterback, and you're like, I want to move this guy along in his rookie year to be better, better able to take us where we need to go in year 2 and 3. Kirk's not going to be around that long, and with this Achilles injury, you never know. I just, who knows?
I think the right answer for this is honestly whoever's starting for the Patriots, because we're going to have a different starter every 2 weeks, I think.
Season,
the way it does. So we're going to move on, and we're going to look at Jack's favorite team in the NFL. First off, we're going to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's predict the Steelers' record in 2024. We're going to go week by week. I want you guys to tell me just straight up win or a loss with like 5 words to describe why. We'll go Jack, Zach, Brian for our order here. So start off week 1 at the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I just have to start by saying I think it's the first time you've ever introduced a team as Jack's favorite team, and it's actually my favorite team. So shout out.
You have so many, it's hard to keep track. So.
That's true.
Oh, my God. All right. Week 1 against Atlanta. Honestly, it's on the road. I think this Falcons team with the new look offense could be a team that wants to come out there and surprise them. I'm going to take Atlanta. I think that Atlanta wins week 1.
All right.
Yeah. I'm taking Atlanta. Excited for that new look offense.
And the defense. They got a very good defense.
Very, very excited for this Falcons team overall.
I think it's Atlanta, but since you already outvoted me, I'm going to say Pittsburgh.
Well, all right. 2-1. Atlanta takes the win. 0-1. Week 2 at Denver. Little Russell Wilson revenge game.
Yeah, and I'm taking the Steelers to win that one. I'm not a Denver guy this year. I don't think that roster's looking too good right now.
I mean, Steelers quarterback room is a train wreck, but the Broncos are just one big car crash in slow motion right now. Give me the Steelers.
I actually think Bo Nix has looked decent enough that he'll get the starting job there. I like Denver at home in this one.
Well, it's 2-1 again. So Steelers take the win.
Yeah.
1-1. Week 3 hosting the Chargers.
I'm taking the Steelers at home in this one for sure.
Yet another AFC West train wreck. Give me the Steelers.
Steelers.
All right, 2-1. Next, at the Colts.
Because this should theoretically be before Anthony Richardson's inevitable injury, I'll take the Colts.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Colts in this one.
All right, guys. I'm going to take the Colts because it doesn't matter what my vote is, and I go third.
Well, you could be the tiebreaker, but all right. So
But I haven't been. That's the
all right.
point.
Well, whatever. Colts are taking that game, so we'll give it to the Colts. 2-2 for the Steelers. So all right, week 5 hosting the Cowboys.
I'm going to take the Steelers. I said Mike McCarthy was the coach on the hottest seat. I think the Cowboys are going to come out the gates a little struggling with the whole Dak Prescott situation, the CeeDee Lamb situation that's been looming over them all offseason. I'm going to take the Steelers at home earlier in the year.
CeeDee Lamb or not, Dak's going to throw for 350 yards. Easy Cowboys win.
I don't think this is even close, Cowboys.
All right, they drop to 2-3. Next, week 6 at the Raiders.
Steelers, easy.
I feel like this one's kind of close. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of leaning the Raiders here. I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Zach cannot pick against Gardner Minshew in any situation. That's just one of his life tenets.
It's the stash.
I'm going to agree. I think the Raiders win this one. The old school AFL matchup going all the way to Vegas. Give me the Raiders.
All right. Next, we go to New York. Week 7, the Jets come to Pittsburgh.
I'm taking the Jets. I think the Jets are going to have a really good year.
Assuming Aaron Rodgers can play for more than 4 snaps this year, this should be the Jets and pretty easily.
Sauce told me in the airport in Indianapolis to pick the Jets this week because he just felt great about their win over the Steelers. So give me the Jets.
All right, so they're dropped to 2-5 already. Week 8, though, nice bounce back spot. The Giants come to town.
And bounce back they will. I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, Giants are going to be awful. Give me the Steelers.
Steelers, no question.
All right, so heading into the bye week 9, they are 3-5. Another bounce back spot. Week 10, they go to Washington.
I think this is the point of the year where the Steelers got in a bit of a rule. They like to do this. They start off sometimes a little bumpy. In the middle of the season, they put the foot on the gas. This is the time it starts. I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Jack, their schedule gets exponentially harder from here on out.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I mean, they're already this low. It's not going to look much better. Commanders do have some upside with Jaden Daniels, but I think the Steelers get it done.
I think because it's the week after the bye week, I'll pick the Steelers. But otherwise, I think this is close to being a toss-up. But give me the Steelers.
All right, so they're back to 4-5 now, approaching 500. We know Mike Tomlin loves to be right around there. Week 11, Baltimore comes to town.
This is not me being biased. The Steelers beat the Ravens in Pittsburgh. I don't know why, but just about every year when it's Steelers-Ravens in Pittsburgh, the Steelers win, and I'm taking the Steelers.
I definitely understand the logic of like a 1-1 split between division opponents. The Ravens are not going to be that team this year. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I did their division rankings or the division games separately, and I have them losing to the Ravens twice, so loss.
All right, that's a loss, and it's not getting easier. Week 12, going to Cleveland.
I think the Steelers win this one too. I said in my books here, this would be their 4th winner in a row. They like to get hot in the middle of the year, and in Cleveland is another spot where the Steelers tend to play well. So I'm going to take the Steelers.
This is going to be their 2nd loss in a row. I can see them winning the game in Pittsburgh, but this one's going to be in Cleveland. Give me the Browns.
Zach, I thought exactly the same. This is the one division game that the one division foe I think they have a chance against, so I think they'll go 1-1, but they're going to lose the game at Cleveland, so loss.
All right, it's not looking great for them. Going into week 13 at Cincinnati.
Yeah, I won't be biased here. This is the Bengals.
Pretty clearly the Bengals. Feeling pretty good about them this year.
This schedule is so brutal the last 8 weeks, by the way.
Yeah,
if they don't stack wins early, my prediction of 5-12 might actually be right. Big L to the Bengals.
All right, so going into week 14 now, they are 4-8. So not looking great for the Steelers. Have to win out if they want to be 9-8. Week 14, hosting Cleveland.
I've got the Steelers in this one. I think at home, they have the fans on their side. It's a winnable game. I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, hosting the Browns, I can see the Steelers winning this.
Yep, Steelers win.
All right, so 5-8, going to Philadelphia, week 15.
That will be a bloodbath. The Eagles win.
Definitely an Eagles win. Fly, Eagles, fly.
I don't think the Steelers get another win the rest of the season. Big L to the Eagles.
Yeah, it's tough from here on out. Week 16 at Baltimore.
Yeah, the Steelers tend to beat the Ravens in Pittsburgh, but in Baltimore, it's not usually so pretty. So I'll take the Ravens.
No, and I mean, and also during a playoff push for the Ravens, definitely not winning that game. Give me the Ravens.
Yep, Ravens by 30.
All right, week 17, hosting the Chiefs.
It would be such a Steelers thing to do to win this game for absolutely no reason at a point in the season where they're out of the playoff picture, and it's just because Mike Tomlin has these guys playing hard. It would be so Steelers to win this game, but I'm still going to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah, they would be 5-10 according to our record so far, and they snag a game off the Chiefs, who are already like 13-2 and have clinched the first seed.
It would be typical. It would be typical, but I'll take the Chiefs.
To be fair, definitely a more realistic scenario than you might think. What Jack is saying, I'm still going with the Chiefs to win by 25.
If this was a week 18 game, I would definitely take the Steelers, but it's because the Chiefs won't be playing for anything, but it's not. So big L.
All right, and last game, week 18, kind of meaningless, possibly, hosting the Bengals.
I'm throwing the Steelers a bone and giving them this one. I think the Bengals in week 18 won't have much to play for. I think, in my opinion, they should have the division locked up at this point. And I'll take the Steelers.
I'm going to say the Bengals will be resting their starters. I'm also going to throw them a bone. Give me the Steelers to end out the season with a pity W.
Zach, you had a chance to make me right and have us actually pick them to go 5-12. All right. Now I'm going to have to take 6-11, but I still think the Bengals win this, even with their backups.
I don't think it's going to be a gimme game. I think that Pittsburgh's not going to be contending, but I think Baltimore and Cleveland are going to be right behind the Bengals, if not tied with them. And I think Cincy's going to need every single win that they can get. So I don't think they're resting Jack. I think that they're going full on, and Cincinnati's going to beat them at home. So I think that Cincy wins that, but we'll give them the win. So Steelers finish 6-11 according to our calculations. A couple rough slides for them: a 4-game losing streak, a 3-game losing streak, and then another 3-game losing streak. So it's going to be a couple tough slides for the Steelers.
I feel like I mentioned this before, but we all talked about it. That end of season schedule is brutal. It is absolutely brutal after their bye week.
Yeah, if they don't win at least 6 or 7 games by their bye week, like if they're not 6-2 going into week 9, there's no shot they finish above 500. Like, to get Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy, Cleveland, Eagles, Baltimore, KC, Bengals as your end of season. You face the top 3 teams in the AFC, arguably, like 6 times in a row, plus the Eagles. Like, good luck with that.
I mean, let me just remind Jack that I said 5-12 last week before we even looked at the games.
Hey, I still think we're going 10-7, but it's okay.
You're insane.
I just don't know how you even count 10 wins there, but
I don't know how you count 7.
I think they win that Baltimore game at home for sure. I think they win on the road in Cleveland and at home against Cleveland. I don't know. I think they perform better in the division than you give them credit for. I think we only had them winning 1 division game. That won't happen.
All right. Well, we're going to move on. We're going to do one more team today, and we'll save some for next week. So we're going to do a team in the NFC now who I think is going to be ready for a very hot season. We're going to look at the Green Bay Packers. So let me get their schedule up. All right. So let's predict the Green Bay Packers record in 2024, starting week 1 at the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll go, Brian, you know what? You can chime in. So we'll go Brian, Zach, Jack for this one.
I think it's a loss against the Eagles. I know this is such a weird game to predict because it's in Brazil on a Friday night.
Yeah, true. Hold on. Let me set the scene for that then. So starting week 1 against the Eagles in Brazil on a Friday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles in this one. I think both teams are gonna be way out of sorts. It's week 1, number 1. Number 2, they'll be playing in Brazil. Number 3, it's on a Friday night. So it's just like a weird setup altogether. This could be like a 13-10 game, but I think the Eagles win.
Yeah, this game is an absolute toss-up, but I'm going to give it to the Eagles. I think it will be pretty entertaining. I think we're going to see some good stuff from both teams. But like Brian said, like very different location, very different environment. Like I can definitely see the teams being a little out of whack.
Does that count as a home game for the Eagles?
It does. And
Technically.
It does.
Yep.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like the London games. You lose a home
Yeah.
game.
I'm going to give it to the Eagles as well. I think it's going to be a disgusting, sloppy games between two probable playoff teams. But yeah, I think the Eagles take it.
All right, week 2, hosting the Colts.
I think this is a huge win for the Packers because I do think they're a little weird in week 1, and they come home opener, the whole bit. Jordan Love, it's a win.
Yeah, definitely a big win for the Packers. I feel like the Packers are on a different level than the Colts right now, so give me the Packers.
Yeah, I agree. The season starting at Lambeau gets off to a good start. So yeah, give it to the Packers.
All right, week 3 at Tennessee, staying in the AFC South.
As like really tough as Nissan Stadium can be, I think the Packers roll by 4 touchdowns over the Titans.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Packers here. Titans are still kind of rebuilding, retooling, but the Packers are looking to compete for, to get to the Super Bowl for an NFC Championship spot. Definitely the Packers.
Yeah, I got the Packers as well. Not much more to add.
All right, 2-1, week 4, hosting Minnesota.
Minnesota, I mean, a lot of terrible luck. I don't feel bad for them at all because they probably deserve it. But I think the Packers sweep them this year, so they get the win here.
Yeah, it feels like a rare season where the Vikings are going to be absolutely terrible. They're usually good, decent. We don't see the Vikings be absolutely terrible most of the time, but horrible luck. Packers get an easy win.
Yeah, I think the Packers win again. I think the Vikings are going to start off a little slow this year. They might pick it up towards the end of the year, but I think in the beginning they start off slow and the Packers get the win.
All right, week 5, going to SoFi against the Rams.
Normally, I would pick the Rams here. I think the Rams are, this weird, quirky. They made the playoffs last year, played the Lions tough away and lost. And, but they have no home field advantage whatsoever. And I think Green Bay is going to empty their entire city, go to LA for this game. So it's going to feel like a home game for the Packers. So give me Green Bay.
This one's close, but I'm leaning towards the Rams for this one. I still see a lot of potential with this Rams team. I think that they're still a playoff squad, and they're going to prove it against Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the Rams as well. I think this is a Rams team that's going to have a really good season. I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. And I think at home, despite the presence that Packers fans tend to have when they play in LA, I think the Rams will be able to get it done at home.
All right, 3-2, week 6, hosting the Cardinals.
I do think the Cardinals are on their way up. I think they're going to have to decide what they're doing with Kyler Murray going forward at some point this year. But I think the Packers are a little more established, ready to go, and it's a home game. So give me Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean Arizona going from the desert up to Lambeau. In October, it's starting to get a little bit colder. I know weather doesn't actually impact games that much, but I'm taking the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers as well. I think the Cardinals are due for a better season than the last few, but I think the Packers win this one.
All right, week 7, hosting the Red Hot Texans.
I actually like Houston in this one. I just think it's a weird, young, for the most part, other than Stephon Diggs, young team that is going to be playing with a little bit of abandon. And I definitely don't think Jordan Love has arrived totally just yet. So I like, give me the Texans.
I like the Texans as well in this one. I'm really excited to see how this Texans team looks on the field. Week 1, I think they're going to be explosive. I think their offense is going to rack up a lot of points, and I'm going to say that they're going to be able to overwhelm the Packers defense. Give me the Texans in this one.
Yeah, I know my vote doesn't matter at this point, but I personally would take the Packers at home. I think this is a really fun game between two really good young up-and-coming teams. But I just think the Packers' home field will be a little bit too much for that young Texans team.
That's going to be a phenomenal game. Whoever wins, I think it's going to be a good one. All right, week 8, going to Jacksonville. They are currently 4-3 at this point.
I'm going to pick Jacksonville here. I just think it's a weird, going down. It's kind of like when Buffalo or New England have to go play Miami in September. You can't really practice for that heat. I know we're talking about weather doesn't really matter that much, but I just think it's one of these weird situations. These are two teams that don't play each other a lot that I think the Packers lose. Give me the Jaguars.
I'm going with the Packers, and I think they're going to obliterate the Jaguars. I'm pretty low on the Jaguars this year. I don't think they're going to be that good. I'm going to say that Jordan Love, this is the game that everyone's going to remember as that breakout game for him. So give me the Packers easily against the Jaguars.
I'm actually going to take the Jaguars too. I agree with a lot of what Brian said. It's really weird when these teams from the North go down south. It throws them off. It's a completely different environment than what they're used to. And I think the Jaguars are a good enough team that with the Packers potentially being a little off the game, the Jaguars can take advantage of it.
Wow. So starting 3-1 are now 4-4 hosting Detroit in week 9.
So I have the Lions and Packers splitting games this year, and normally I would just go with the home team, but I'm actually going to go with both away teams. So give me the Lions in this one.
I have a very similar mindset, but I usually go with both home teams in the 1-1. So give me the Packers.
Yeah, I also agree 1-1 between those two, but I'm going to roll with the home team with Zach. Give me the Packers.
All right, 5-4 going into the week 10 bye, week 11 at Chicago.
I also have them splitting with Chicago. It's a huge rivalry, and Chicago's a lot better. So, but I'm going to go with the home teams in this one. So give me the Bears.
The Bears are away. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Bears,
The Bears
are
are
home.
The Bears are home. See, I'm excited for the Chicago team, and I know it's a huge rivalry because the Packers always win at Soldier Field. I'm going to say that trend continues. Give me the Packers in Soldier Field.
I think I'm going to take the Bears, man. I think Caleb Williams is going to come into this first game against the Packers. It's a big rivalry. He knows the stakes. And I think he's just going to show up and kind of shock the Packers. I don't think they're going to be ready for it. They have to go on the road. And yeah, I'm going to take the Bears in this one.
Wow. So 5-5 now. Week 12, hosting the Niners, a little rematch of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a loss. The only way it's a loss for the Packers. The only way that's not a loss is if Ayuk does get traded to the Steelers, which doesn't look likely anymore. I think this 49ers team is ready to roll. And so I'm going to pick the 49ers.
See, if it was just my picks, the Packers would be on a 5-game winning streak right now, and this would be the game that humbles them a little bit and gets them ready to be like, all right, that's the caliber opponent that we need to get to. That's the caliber of team that we need to get to compete for a Super Bowl. I do think that this is going to be a win for the 49ers, but there's no way that they're at the record that we have in that for this game.
Yeah, I think there's a win for the 49ers as well. The Niners are a team that just have the Packers number over the years, probably over the last 10 years. I feel like every time these two teams play, it's a Niners win, and I don't think that changes.
Wow. So we have them 5-6 right now, under 500 going into week 13. So they'll need to pick it up the last stretch here. So week 13, hosting the Dolphins.
I think this is a big win.
This is on Thanksgiving, by the way,
I think this is a big win for the Packers. You got the Dolphins team from South Florida going up to play in Green Bay in late November. Come on, that's not even close. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, I'm going with a big Packers win as well. I mean, the Dolphins always fold under bright lights, and it's Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, give me the Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers too. Big, resounding statement win at a time in the season where they desperately need it. This is like trademark Packers written all over it.
All right, so 6-6 now, going to Detroit, week 14.
Like I said before, I thought they would split with the Lions and both away teams would win. So Packers win this one.
And like I said before, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going with the Lions on this one.
Yep, I'm also going with the Lions, sticking with the way I had it before.
All right, so they lose that game. Week 15, going to Seattle.
Seattle is a shell of a football team. They're barely hanging on. I think the Packers win this one easily.
I think a little bit higher of Seattle, but I still think the Packers are going to win. And let me just say, looking at the rest of the schedule, for me, Packers win out. The Packers win out from here.
Yeah, I think this is, especially if it went the way that we have it, where they're at 6-7 at this point in the season. I don't know that they're going to be quite that bad, but this is a point in the season where they're going to need to get hot. And I think they take the right step towards doing that against Seattle, get the win in Seattle.
All right, so they're back to 500 now. Week 16 hosting the Saints.
The Saints always play well in Lambeau. Last year they lost by 1 to the Packers, but I think the Saints defense is going to be top 10 this year. The problem is their offense is going to be bottom 5. Packers win this one.
Yeah, Packers are going to win this one. Even if the Saints do play well, I'm going to expect a 2-score win.
Yep, taking the Packers as well. They need to get hot, and they start to get hot here.
All right, rolling into week 17 at Minnesota.
They could play Minnesota on the surface of Mars and win by 3 touchdowns. So Packers.
I'll take Packers over Vikings even on Mount Everest.
Yeah. The Packers stay hot. The Packers finally they got their streak rolling. They're winning this game and feeling good heading into the playoffs.
All right, week 18, last game of the season, hosting the Chicago Bears.
And they're going to need this win based on our record, and so this is going to be a meaningful game. I said they split with the Bears and win the home game. This is the home game. Packers win.
This game will, according to our model, I feel like this game will clinch the Packers a playoff spot, and it will eliminate the Bears, who will finish just outside of the playoffs. Give me a Packers win.
Yeah, I think the Packers come into this game frustrated they lost the game in Chicago, knowing they need to win this game to make the playoffs, and I think that they will kick the Bears to the curb in Lambeau Field in Week 18, put them in their place, little brother. Packers win.
Yeah, that game could definitely be a divisional game for the last spot in the playoffs, like winning you're in, losing you're out. So according to this, we have the Packers going 10-7. I think you guys gave them a few more losses than they should have. And at minimum, they're still winning 10 games. So I think this is going to be a fun season for the Packers. I think that they're going to go through a lot of trials and tribulations in that midseason stretch. But we'll see if they can still finish 10-7 or better and make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
They are not losing to the Jaguars, guys. They are not losing.
That's a trap game. That game is a trap.
There's always a surprise. You got to pick surprises.
Jacksonville. They are not losing to Jacksonville.
Watch it happen. Trevor Lawrence.
Not happening.
So yeah, we had losses to Philly, and then the Rams, Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Bears, Niners, and then they kind of went out after that.
No, to me, it's that Texans game that goes the other way. I think the Packers win that one, and it's at home, and I think the Texans, as a young team going into Lambeau, that's a difficult place for them to win.
I do find it, just a sidebar real quick, I do find it a little crazy how much love Jordan Love has gotten this offseason. I know he's ascending, but I don't know. I don't see him in a possibly could win a Super Bowl just yet kind of thing. And everybody's going insane over him. And I just think that there's going to be a little bit of a retraction because people are going to see a lot of full tape after last year. And so I'm not ready to anoint the Packers as, a top 4 team in the NFC just yet.
Ryan, do me a favor on your lunch break. Go watch the Packers versus Cowboys playoff game back and tell me that Jordan Love doesn't look like a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
I do want to say, I feel like they're right there at 4. They're not top 3, which means they aren't going to compete for the NFC spot in the Super Bowl. I don't think this is not a Super Bowl roster. Like Jordan Love is not going to win a Super Bowl this year, probably not next year, probably not for a little bit. I think he can one day, but we're not quite there yet. You still have the Eagles are still really strong, the Niners are still really strong, and the Lions are right there with them. They're just as, not stronger than the Packers right now. Those are your top 3 NFC teams. Packers have a good argument to be that 4th team right behind them. It's not their time yet, but give it a few seasons, they could be that team.
This is going to be a wild take. I think Atlanta could be better than them too this year.
Oh, freaking way.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I don't hate it either. They're
absolutely hate it, and I said it.
They're looking like the best team in their division, so very possible.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
Yeah, but they probably have 6 free wins.
I guess that.
No, they'll
true,
lose one.
It's 4 or 5. Let's be honest, but yeah,
I'm not saying the Packers aren't going to be good or they're not going to make the playoffs. I just am not ready to say that Jordan Love is a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, no,
just because he beat the Cowboys.
We're definitely on the same page about this. Then we're on the same page.
All right, let's move over and do some fantasy content here. So We've started some drafts. A lot of people are going to be drafting this weekend. Let's talk about those diamonds in the rough, those players outside the top 20 that you think can do something. So name for me one running back outside the top 20 that you have to have on your fantasy team. Jesse.
Oh, I get to go first? Okay. Well, I don't want to be the guy who picks the guy who's ranked number 20th, so I'm not going to do that. For me, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I think that he's in a great new system in the Chicago Bears offense. He's currently ranked 23rd on Fantasy Pros. I think that DeAndre Swift, though, is going to get a lot of action in the Bears offense. I think the Bears as a whole are going to be a lot better. I know it's still kind of murky with Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, a few of the other names on that team. But overall, I mean, DeAndre Swift got the bag from them to come to Chicago when they didn't really need to do that. So I don't think that they're going to pay the guy just to not use him. And overall, I think DeAndre Swift outside the top 20 is as good as it gets.
All right, Jack.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Brooks, the rookie running back for the Panthers. He is coming off a torn ACL that he had at Texas. He's expected to be back week 3 or week 4. But this is a guy that is a pro-ready player. He was one of the best running backs in college football last season, the first running back taken in this year's draft. And I think the Panthers drafted him to be their starter right away. I think he's a far and away more talented player than Chuba Hubbard is. And I think by the time we get into the second half of the season, he's going to be a real fantasy asset that you can get pretty late in your draft. So I love me some Jonathan Brooks.
All right. Jack.
So, I mean, looking at this, one name that really jumped out to me was Jerome Ford being ranked pretty low on this, honestly, lower than I would probably put him. He had really good numbers in Nick Chubb's absence last season. He rushed for over 1,100 yards. He had 9 touchdowns. And Nick Chubb likely will be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. And I know that, maybe it's a bit like short-term thinking right there, but as long as Nick Chubb is absent, I think Jerome Ford is a very underrated fantasy pick.
I'm going to go with somebody I drafted last weekend, which is Brian Robinson of the Commanders. I really like him. I think they're going to want to establish the run game for Jaden Daniels, take a little pressure off of him, and it's not going to come from Austin Eckler between the tackles. So I like what Brian Robinson can do, and Eckler's had a little bit of injury history the last couple of years as well. I think he could end up being a back by the end of the year that's getting close to 20 touches a game. So give me Brian Robinson. Now name for me the wide receiver outside of the top 20. What?
Cut now out of that.
Okay. Name for me. See, you screwed me. What did I say now?
Just say name a running back. It's not that hard.
Name
A wide receiver.
Or a wide receiver, whatever you want.
Name a wide receiver outside of the top 20 that you have to have on your fantasy team in 2024.
Bingo.
Zach.
Ooh. Honestly, I was looking at these rankings and I was shocked to see some of the names that I did outside of the top 20. But for me, I'm easily going with Tank Dell in that dynamic Houston Texans offense. I think he has massive upside for fantasy. Stroud really spread the ball around his receivers last year, so he'll get plenty of receptions. I feel like this passing offense for the Texans has me really excited. I'm even considering Dalton Schultz for my fantasy team. Like that is how excited it's got me right now. So give me Tank Dell.
Jesse.
I have no idea how this guy is ranked this low, but somehow Rashee Rice is the 32nd ranked player on Fantasy Pros. I mean, I say what you want about Rashee Rice as a driver. He's definitely not great in that respect, but on the football field, he's absolutely money. And it appears like he's not getting any suspension from the NFL whatsoever. So it seems like right now he hasn't been suspended yet. And it seems like he might not get anything. If so, if he plays the full season, there's absolutely no reason he should be outside the top 30, let alone the top 20.
Solid. I'm gonna go with a different second-year receiver. I'm going with Zay Flowers. I loved his rookie season last year. He's a fast player. He's a talented wide receiver. He's a top receiver on that Ravens team. Of course, they have Mark Andrews, but he's the best wide receiver on that team. He should get a lot of targets, and I think he's only going up from where he was last year, which is a pretty good baseline. So I love some Zay Flowers.
So this is what I would say about. I love the Rashee Rice pick. You could also pick Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy. I just think the wide receiver room in Kansas City is all ready to go off because I think you're going to see Travis Kelce slide down a little bit. He's still going to be unbelievable, top 5 tight end, but just not the level he has been. And any of those guys could jump up. So I'll pick Hollywood Brown to pick somebody, even though I know he's going to miss the first 3 weeks. But all 3 of those receivers could really jump up and be a steal for you in the 20 to 30 wide receiver range. So give me those. All right. Sometimes the difference between winning a championship and not is just who is your player that jumped up to be number 1 at their position. So name for me one running back outside of the top 5 who's going to finish as the RB1. Jack.
You know, he's not that far outside of the top 5, but I'm going to go with Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne could have a massive season down in Jacksonville. He is their bell cow, a true bell cow. And there's not that many running backs nowadays that you can say are a true 3-down running back getting 20 plus touches every single game. And Travis Etienne is one of those dudes. He's going to get a lot of volume. He's the most consistent option on that offense. And I think he's in for a great season.
All right, Jesse.
I'm going to go I'm torn right now, but I could go in a few directions, but I'll go with this. I'm going with Saquon Barkley. I think this is a guy who has been top 2 or number 1 in fantasy before in his career earlier with the Giants. And I think it's a bounce back year and a much better offense with a much better offensive line. This is a team that's on the goal line quite a bit. And I think Jalen Hurts had double-digit rushing touchdowns last year. And I think they brought in Saquon Barkley to take some of that off of Jalen Hurts. And I think if all goes well and he plays the whole season behind that offensive line, there's no reason he couldn't win Offensive Player of the Year and be the number 1 running back in fantasy. We saw DeMarco Murray do it. Actually, that was with the Cowboys, but
God, as much as I would love that, I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's going to be a very high volume back as well this year. Like Jack was saying about Travis Etienne Jr., there's not really a lot of competition for Pacheco with touches, or at least meaningful touches. I think he'll get a lot of value. Kansas City, another team that spends a lot of time in the red zone. I think the volume is there for him. I think Pacheco could make that jump. Number 1 might be a bit of an ask, but I'm just gonna put a bet on it. I'm gonna say Pacheco could be that player.
Hope you're right. He's my keeper. I'm gonna go with I think the one player that could really make the Packers go from being 10-7 to being 12-5, and it's Josh Jacobs. I just love that signing by them, and I think he could really take a lot of pressure off for Jordan Love, give them a real athletic young running back, big yards, some catches as well. So give me Josh Jacobs for this. Name one wide receiver outside of the top 5 who's going to end up as the wide receiver 1. Zach, let's go with you.
Ooh. I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit torn between 3 receivers. I could go in any direction. But you know what? There's a reason he set the record last season. I'm going to go with Puka Nacua as this year's wide receiver 1. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think Cooper Kupp is starting to fall off. He's going to emerge. Nacua is going to emerge as the Rams' true wide receiver 1. And Matt Stafford can still sling the ball to him. I think he's going to get plenty of receptions, maybe not as much as he did last year, but it could be enough to get him wide receiver 1.
Okay. I'm going to make Jack mad with this one.
No.
I'm stealing Jack's pick. It's Garrett Wilson is the guy who could finish number 1. He's in for an Offensive Player of the Year caliber season with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Easily could go for 1,500 plus yards, 10 plus touchdowns, 100 plus catches. No problem for Garrett Wilson.
I was being nice, Jack. I was being nice. I thought about him too.
I'm heartbroken.
Take my guy. Take my guy. I didn't take my guy. Take my guy.
I don't believe
take Garrett Wilson if you want, but
yeah, no, I'll come up with something else. You know, Garrett Wilson was going to be my answer though. Like
I ranked number 7th, and I was like, oh, Jack's locked in on that.
Garrett, sure. I mean, I genuinely believe he very well could be the number 1 option in fantasy this year. Right? I think he's going to be unbelievable. I guess if I have to go for a second option, I will take. You know what? I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison. Screw it. I'll take the rookie. I think he's gonna get a crazy volume in Arizona. You guys know I love Kyler Murray. He's got a great quarterback throwing him the football, and I think he's gonna have a really big season. Is he gonna be the number one option in fantasy? I don't know, but I think he could be a really, really reliable fantasy option this year, and a guy well worth taking high in your drafts.
God, you went from your most obvious pick to your second most obvious pick right there. Of course.
I also wrote down Garrett Wilson and then immediately wrote another name down because I knew there's no way he was making it back to me. I'm going to go A.J. Brown. I like the idea of Jalen Hurts this year proving to everyone that he's a quarterback, not just a guy that runs the sneak, but somebody that can throw the ball. And I think A.J. Brown isn't at the end of his peak, but he's inching that way. I think they're going to have a huge year together. That's not going to bode well for Devontae Smith as much, but I do think A.J. Brown could end up the number one overall receiver. All right, let's talk tight ends. So name for me a tight end outside of the top three who could end up being the number one tight end in fantasy this year. Jesse.
Oh, okay. I got a good one for this. I think this is a very easy choice for me. I think it's Dalton Kincaid. I think that he could have a huge year in Buffalo. He could be the number one receiver in that offense from Josh Allen without really a clear wide receiver one anymore. He definitely has the best rapport with Allen. And I mean, he showed a lot of promise last year as a tight end. I think Kincaid, honestly, like in general, he could easily finish as the tight end one this year. Like he's a great option, I think, in the mid to later rounds in all your drafts. And I think besides, the big hitters like Kelsey, Andrews, even Sam Laporta, like I think Dalton Kincaid has better volume than almost any tight end on the list.
Jesse stealing my pick twice in a row. Unbelievable. I love the Kincaid pick. I think he's going to have an unbelievable season because who else is getting the ball in Buffalo? Seriously. Josh Allen has to throw the ball somewhere, and Dalton Kincaid might be the only reliable target he has. So he's in for an incredible year. But if I have to go for a second guy, I'm doing it again. I'm falling into the trap again. And this is the last time, I promise. Kyle Pitts. I promise it's the last time I'm falling into the trap. If this isn't the year, I will never do it again. But he finally has a great quarterback. He's such a talented player. He's in a great offense. If it's not this year, it's never going to happen. And I think he's too talented of a player for it to never happen. I'm doing it again. Kyle Pitts.
You need to be checked into Pitts Owners Anonymous or something because this is sad. This is very sad. I'm going to go with Jake Ferguson. I feel like especially, Dak Prescott definitely started to lean on Ferguson a little bit more. And now with a very limited wide receiver room outside of CeeDee Lamb, who could hold out for at least, a couple weeks of the season, I think Jake Ferguson's going to see a lot more volume come his way. Definitely can see him a lot higher than where he's ranked on Fantasy Pros at 9th. I think he could easily enter the top 5 tight end conversation, and there's an outside chance he could finish as tight end 1.
All right. It's hard. Tight ends are hard to pick. I was thinking Trey McBride before I looked at the list, but he's top 3. So part of me wants to pick George Kittle because, that I think that 49ers offense is going to be awesome, but there's just way too many weapons. So give me Brock Bowers. I know it's a weird pick, but I just like Gardner Minshew attaching himself to somebody like a tight end that he can just chuck the ball 12 to 15 yards down the field and in the red zone. Obviously, he's going to have to keep Devontae Adams happy too somehow. But I'm going to go Brock Bowers. Just something on the outside, something a little crazy.
That's definitely crazy. Brock Bowers. All right, we're going to move on.
You took the top 3 away from me. Then you took the second 3 away from me. So what am I supposed to pick?
I do agree that the Kyle Pitts is just like, it's like the abusive relationship that you just keep going back to and can't get away from. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to do some games. So we're going to move on to some fantasy stuff from way back. So can you name the top 12 fantasy running backs from 2016? To set the scene, these scores are in half PPR, and this is the 2016 NFL season. So top 12.
All right. 2016. I guess I can get started. 2016 is prime David Johnson territory. So I'm going to say David Johnson.
Easily prime number 1 with 362 fantasy points for David Johnson.
Wow.
And half PPR. So he's number 1.
Okay. How about Ezekiel Elliott?
Zeke, number 2, right behind him with 309.
What about Le'Veon Bell?
Number 3 with 279. So top 3 cleared off.
All right. This could get weird, but this is a guy that I used to love to draft in fantasy, and it feels like the right time. Let me get the muscle hamster himself, Doug Martin.
No, this is unfortunately not a Doug Martin year. He's actually not anywhere on this list. I feel like he might have
Maybe
been
a little late.
He might have been hurt or just not around, actually.
Maybe. I don't know. I love Doug Martin, though.
I do love me some Doug Martin, but no, he is not on the list. 2016, he only played 8 games, actually. So 2015, though, you would have been on the money. He had a huge season that year, 1,700 yards and like 7 touchdowns. But
I was off here, and knowing me a little, however old I was, probably drafted Doug Martin 2016 and felt the felt the weight of his loss.
Yeah, he only played 8 games. So
I'm going to go with LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount, number 8 with 218 points. A lot of touchdowns for that man.
What about, did we say LaShawn McCoy?
You did not. He's number 4 with 271.
How about Frank Gore? He still would have been good.
Frank Gore is the first name off the list at number 13. He missed it by 2 fantasy points.
Yikes.
That hurts.
How about Super Bowl champion and now esports legend Jay Ajayi?
Jay Ajayi is number 11 with 192.
Wow.
He's the one who inspired this list. I was like, you know what? Let me find a list with Jay Ajayi on it.
What about Devontae Freeman?
Number 6, easy, 231.
All right. Oh, Adrian Peterson?
Nope, not an Adrian Peterson year.
Not that year.
No, I think Adrian Peterson was also hurt at that point.
Huh.
First it was guessing Megatron for a 2017 stat. Now it's this.
No, I don't think he was terrible that year. Let me find what happened.
He was still good in 2016.
2016 was his final year in Minnesota. He only played 3 games.
Okay.
2015 though, 1,700 yards and 11 touchdowns.
So I'm just a year off of everything.
Yeah, that was the last year.
Give me Melvin Gordon.
Number 7. How many?
I had that written down.
Number 7 with 230 points.
What about Todd Gurley?
No, Todd Gurley is number 19. I believe that was his rookie year.
Let's see. Jamal Charles?
Or that was actually not his rookie year. That was his second year, but no, it's not Todd Gurley. Jamal Charles, no, he's not on the list. You're again like a year too late.
Mark Ingram?
No, Mark Ingram. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mark Ingram is number 10. He had with a whopping, he had 197 points, number 10. And yeah, funny, Jack. Jamal Charles, again, like 2013, 14, 15 is good. 2016, he played 3 games, did not start a single one.
Oh, my God.
So you're missing number 5, 9, and 12. 3 names.
Matt Forte.
No, Matt Forte is not on the list. He's number 18.
Good poll. Good poll, though.
Oh, Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. Don't tell me it was 2015.
Marshawn Lynch is not on the list. I believe that was actually also the year that he got hurt.
Oh, my God. What is with this year?
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch. Let me see what he did in his. No, Marshawn Lynch played 1 game in. Sorry, Marshawn Lynch did not play at all in 2016. Actually, that was his initial retirement. and then he came out of retirement the following season. But yeah, he did not play. Jack is, if we did 2015, you'd be money.
I mean, literally, what are we doing?
Actually, even 2015, he didn't play much, but yeah.
Jack, you're not thinking sickos enough. Latavius Murray.
Ooh.
He's number 12, Latavius Murray. 188 points.
Sickos mind. You gotta have a sickos mind to think of these guys.
Did we say his cousin, DeMarco Murray?
No, but he is number 5. DeMarco, are they actually cousins?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, 265 points, number 5. So you're just missing number 9.
I have a weird one that feels kind of good that I'm sure you're going to tell me was retired in 2016 and had an unbelievable year in 2015. Jonathan Stewart.
Not Jonathan Stewart. He is number 27.
Oh, my God.
Missed some time. He actually had a pretty strong back half of the year, but he missed some games.
How about Lamar Miller?
Ooh.
Oh, Lamar Miller is number 16.
Oh, that felt so good.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint for the last name. This guy is one of the best touchdown vultures of all time. Like, this guy would have 3 carries for 3 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Jalen Hurts wasn't in the NFL yet. What are you talking about?
Nope.
The bus was like the first guy to do that, but he
Yeah.
wasn't playing in 2016.
Touchdown vulture.
Although this guy was a beast. And
It's not Arian Foster, is it?
no, it's not Arian Foster.
We already said LeGarrette Blount, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
CJ Anderson.
No, not CJ Anderson.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
I think CJ Anderson would be like a few years before, but
I'll give
I
you a
still
hint.
think it's a big guess.
This guy spent the majority of his career in the NFC. He was an Eagle at some point, but not during this year.
I think I know
Jordan
this.
Howard.
Dang, Jordan Howard is the last name on
Yeah. That was his rookie year, right?
Yeah, that was actually his rookie year with the
Took
Bears.
the words out of my mouth. Yeah, Jordan Howard.
Howard. Oh my God.
Yeah, he had 1,600 yards and 7 touchdowns in his rookie year.
Wow.
And that was his best year. And then it was all downhill from there. Back when the Bears were relevant. All right, well, good stuff. We're going to move on to some Madden cover athletes. Real quick, let's start with a question about the Madden. So, who is the worst Madden cover athlete of all time? Brian, why don't you take us away on that one?
I think it's easy. I think it's Vince Young. I mean, a guy with so much promise, and I understand that Peyton Hillis is on this list, but Vince Young was terrible as a quarterback. I actually, when I was looking through, it was like, how did he ever get on the Madden cover? I don't even remember a decent, like a decently good year to throw him on the cover. So it's all potential. It all went downhill. He had that great game in college, and that's the only game that everybody remembers against USC.
All right, Jack, what do you think?
I think I'll go for the obvious answer. If you look at the list of Madden cover athletes, you've got Hall of Famers, all pro players. I mean, they don't miss very often. Other than Vince Young, the only other real true miss is Peyton Hillis. The guy had one incredible season, fell off the face of the earth after that. So it's got to be the most random cover athlete ever. Of course, he was a Cleveland Brown because that's the only way that could add up. But yeah, Peyton Hillis is just the strangest name ever. And I honestly think the only reason that people like really remember Peyton Hillis as a football player is because he was randomly a Madden cover athlete.
All right, mine's from a bit of a different angle, but I'm going to say the worst Madden cover athlete of all time was Antonio Brown for Madden 19. Now, I know Antonio Brown did have a good season in 2019, but his career went literally completely off the rails as soon as that season ended. And that's not even to mention how bad that Madden was. I know we all say, oh, this Madden's so terrible. Oh, this Madden's so bad. Madden 19 may still be the worst modern Madden game that we've ever had. So for ultimately what happened to his career and for how bad Madden 19 was, I'm going to say Antonio Brown.
It actually is really crazy. I was just looking up the numbers. Vince Young, so he was Rookie of the Year in 2006. Or sorry, he wasn't Rookie of the Year. Vince Young made the Pro Bowl in 2006 with 2,200 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions, and then got the cover of Madden 08 the following year. So
That's crazy.
I feel like all the good quarterbacks must have been in the Super Bowl or declined to go to the Pro Bowl that year because that's like Justin Fields numbers getting into the Pro Bowl. So that's crazy. I think I actually agree with Brian on that one. Now looking at the stats, at least Peyton Hillis, put up 1,000 yards on the ground. Like Vince, that's like half a season, 2,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Like that's crazy. And he led the Titans to an 8-5 record. Like whoopee. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next thing of the day. So we're gonna do a draft. So let's do a draft of Madden cover athletes. So I actually have the first pick. We're gonna do a quarterback, running back, receiver, and a flex. You can put a quarterback at the flex, but they are not allowed to throw the ball. They have to play a skill position. So there's a lot of options here, but I feel like it's actually not that hard. First overall, give me Madden 13 cover athlete, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, great pick. You got to lock up the receivers first because it's a disaster after a certain point. And I think I'm going to roll with your strategy there and take Larry Fitzgerald.
Oof. Yeah, it is very, very thin at the top for wideouts. God, I'm like looking through the list and I don't even remember who's left of the wideouts right now. I'm like,
you got Antonio Brown and Odell.
Jesus Christ.
2016 Odell though.
I know. You know what? Because of just how limited this pool is, Brian, you don't have to draft a wide receiver. I'm going to take Antonio Brown.
After you just called him the worst cover athlete.
Yeah. But I mentioned it's for pretty much everything besides that season. So.
All right. So I cannot believe this person made it to me, but I'm going to take Michael Vick at quarterback. And then I'm going to take Ray Lewis at flex, the best linebacker that God ever produced.
Wow.
I can't believe that this guy made it back to me because I thought for sure Brian was going to take him. Give me Barry Sanders at running back.
Solid. You know what? I can't let this guy get past me. I'm taking my favorite football player of all time, Troy Polamalu.
All right. I got a lot of options here.
Nice M&Ms.
Oh, yeah. They're fantastic.
All right. So let's see. Where do I want to go with this? All right. First off, at the flex, give me my favorite football player of all time, Rob Gronkowski. Staying right there. And then there's so many quarterbacks. I feel like I have to go running back here. Not one of the most popular choices, but by far one of the most dominant athletes of all time, Sean Alexander. Come on down.
Very solid.
And this is like 06, 30 touchdowns, Sean Alexander. So,
yeah. I think I like your philosophy, Jesse. I'm going to wait on quarterback. I'm going for a running back. And it's two guys that were really dominant in both of their eras for me that I'm deciding between. But you know what? Screw it. I'll take this year's cover athlete. Let me get Christian McCaffrey.
Boo.
Yeah, I feel like I can wait on quarterback because it is so insanely deep. And, Brian also already got Michael Vick. But I know we had our rule for, the super flex, where they can't throw the ball. Give me Lamar Jackson at the flex. He is
making him a running back.
He is perfect at that role. Look, I have Barry Sanders and Lamar Jackson as a backfield. I think I'm doing pretty well.
Awesome. So I have two picks, my final two picks. I'm going to go with two guys from New Orleans, Louisiana. Give me Odell Beckham at the wide receiver position, and give me Marshall Faulk at the running back position.
Oh, great duo.
Nice.
I There's two quarterbacks on my mind. Both one is the GOAT. One will be the GOAT. So who am I picking? GOAT versus GOAT?
Donovan McNabb.
I have McNabb jersey, so definitely consider it. But I mean, yeah, I'll just pull out my McNabb jersey, just throw everyone off. No, give me the OG. Give me Tom Brady.
I thought there was maybe a chance he'd fall all the way back to me, and I'd get him in.
I
No.
very much considered Mahomes, but Tom Brady is still my GOAT.
Yeah, I will happily scoop up Patrick Mahomes.
All right, and that leaves one quarterback left for me. What to do? Wait a sec.
You've got a few good options left.
You have some very solid options. I know
Dante Culpepper just sitting right there.
I'm just actually surprised. I, for some reason, thought that Peyton Manning was on a cover, but I guess
No.
Never was.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was just looking at the list and I was like, how did Peyton Manning never make the cover? He must have been asked and turned it down.
Yeah.
Let me see if there. Yeah, there's nothing about Peyton Manning in anywhere of this. I'm surprised that you can get 5 MVPs and never be on the cover of Madden, and yet we have freaking what's his face, Vince Young, on the cover instead. So I feel like all the best quarterbacks are off the board. You know what? We're gonna go with last year's cover athlete. Give me Josh Allen
Over Brett Favre?
No, not over Brett Favre. That's Jets Brett Favre, first of all. Over Drew Brees.
Yeah.
No, Brett Favre.
You're actually right. That is a good one. But
Over
fuck it.
Drew Brees. I'm not so sure about that.
Allen.
Josh Allen, very good, but I'm probably picking Drew Brees over him personally.
Drew Brees couldn't throw the ball more than 30 yards.
Yes, in 2020, not in 2009.
Yeah, this is 2010 Drew Brees.
If I'm building a team for a video game, like if this is we're playing Madden with this team, I'm taking Josh Allen 10 times out of 10.
And by the way, Madden 09 had a cover and Favre was on it with the Packers.
Oh, okay.
And then they changed it to the Jets once he switched teams.
Yeah, he was on both.
Yeah.
We should talk about Adrian Peterson not getting drafted though. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
This is an interesting one. I feel like Zach might have actually cooked for once, but we'll have to see what the comments say. So let us know who won the draft. There's some very interesting picks in this one.
I honestly, in hindsight, I mean, yes, Lamar is a really good pick there, but Adrian Peterson would have made that a definitive win.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, and we're gonna finish it off. I got a couple Madden questions for you guys. We did this last week with some wide receivers, and people had a lot to say on TikTok about it. So we're going back to it. Let me pull up the official ratings. So who is a higher overall in Madden 25? Kenneth Walker or Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, we should rename this segment "How Fast Will Jack Lose His Sanity?" It should be Jonathan Taylor, but I'm going to say Kenneth Walker. Madden is dumb.
Taylor was a Badger, right? You're not going with your Badger?
Yes. No, I'm going with Kenneth Walker because Madden is dumb.
I'm gonna go with your Badger, Jack. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Taylor.
It's got to be Jonathan Taylor.
Ken Walker is an 88. Jonathan Taylor is an 87. So Ken Walker takes the cake somehow.
Brian, you are new to this. You are new to this. Honestly, this game is the equivalent of banging your head into a wall.
I just want to see if I can trick you guys up. All right, next one. Bijan Robinson or Najee Harris?
No.
No.
Don't tell me.
No.
I can't believe it. I'm taking Bijan. There's no way. There's no way.
This is why I didn't buy Madden. It should be Bijan.
I did buy Madden. I've had a lot of fun playing it, actually. I think it's really good. I actually think the animations are a lot better than they have been over the past couple of years. And I'm going to take Bijan.
So it's funny because Madden is usually all over Bijan Robinson. He's only an 82 this new one. Najee Harris is an 83.
Oh, my God.
So Do with that information what you will. Next one, his backfield mate, Jalen Warren or James Cook.
Jalen Warren feels like the kind of player that Madden would have like as literally a 70 overall for some reason. So I'm going to take James Cook.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. Literally would have an 85 overall, but just because of the weird intangibles like speed and agility and whatever. But
no. It's more like he's some undrafted scrub, so we don't care about him.
Yeah. God, it doesn't matter what I say. I feel like I'm going to be banging my head into the wall anyways. Give me Jalen Warren.
I'm taking Jalen Warren too. I think he's just like weirdly fast, agile, whatever. And yeah.
So Jalen Warren is an 82, and James Cook, who made the Pro Bowl last year, is an 81. So shout out James Cook. And last one for today, Breece Hall. Or
Wait a minute. You're telling me the Steelers' backfield was an 84 and an 82 overall?
83 and an 82.
83, 82? That is wild.
And their quarterback room has a 60 and a 59.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last one for the day, Breece Hall or Jahmyr Gibbs.
I'm taking Jahmyr. I think Breece is the perfect kind of player that Madden hates for no reason.
I feel like it should be Jahmyr Gibbs, but I want to get this right. So give me Breece Hall.
I'm going to say Jahmyr Gibbs too, just because of how he ended the season last year, and I think that plays a big part.
So Breece Hall is set at an 85. Jahmyr Gibbs is an 84. So right underneath them.
Yep.
No.
Throw your logic out the window. We're talking Madden right now.
That's actually the only one to me that is somewhat fair. The rest of them are fucked.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think Breece should be higher than Jahmyr Gibbs. I actually agree on that. But
yeah.
it's
Najee Harris over Bijan Robinson is genuinely insane.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That is disgusting work by Madden.
Let us know which is worse, Najee over Bijan or Zay Flowers being higher than Puka.
Is that true?
We did this last week, and Zay was better. Also, Gabe Davis over Nico Collins, and
that was the most egregious.
I did that last week, and that was
Mike Williams over Garrett Wilson as well. Just love to see it. Keep doing your thing, Madden. Good job.
Oh my god!
And that's all we got for today. So that's it for today's show. We will be back on Thursday with some more trivia and everything. If you haven't already, make sure you join the Lost Tribe Survivor Pool. It's in the link of all of our descriptions everywhere. As well, you can join our fantasy league if you want. You can see more about that in our Discord. So we got a community fantasy league. We got our staff fantasy league going on too. So we're all going to compete. We'll do a draft live on Twitch at some point in the next week or two. So more to come from Pass the Rock. Anyone else?
Boom. Goodbye.